Tuesday, July 1st, and Frenzy doesn't even describe what is going on in the sports world. Monday, there was no case of the Mondays in the NHL and the NBA. Indiana says goodbye. Milwaukee says goodbye and hello, and congratulations to the Denver Nuggets and the Atlanta Hawks for advancing to next year's NBA Championship Series. And also congratulations to the Florida Panthers on a three-peat. That's all, folks. We'll talk to you later. What a wild freaking 24 hours, man. And shout out right off the top, Mac, before we get into some generals here, to Shams Charania. I don't know how he does it, man. I was tracking everything last night, stayed up a little later than I should have just to get caught up, and really didn't see anything overnight, just some rumors. But I don't know how this dude does it. I mean, I'm sure he probably hasn't slept in like a week.
He's like one of those aliens, you know, that all those fingers and whatnot. It just, I mean, it's funny. I know you were trying to keep up with things as they were happening, and that's a business right there in itself. I'll tell you, he's got I'm assuming he's got people that help him out a little bit on a day like that. Don't wait and keep up with all that stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, just how quickly the graphics go up, and then he adds, the secondary context to it. So shout out to Shams. Like, dude is a workhorse.
Yeah.
But plenty of stuff, as we know, as we expected, going on, and a couple of surprise moves. And there's some teams that, what are you up to, I think, is probably the best way to kind of go about it. So we'll talk about the NBA at the bottom part of the show. We'll get you updated with anything that's going on. The NHL also in their free agent frenzy as well. And just when you thought Bill Zito couldn't retain anybody and the championship cap crunch was coming, guess what? I'm not effing leaving. And Bill Zito, excuse me, choked up.
It's all good. I didn't know you were that emotionally attached to the Florida Panthers.
Good Lord. Emotionally attached to my lungs that about just left my body. Sorry out there for everybody watching. And those that are watching, we appreciate you. Feel free to comment along and tell us your thoughts on free agency. But Bill Zito, funniest thing I was saying before I almost choked to death live. Somebody posted a thing yesterday that they're sculpting a big silver pear as a statue to put outside the Amerant Bank Arena in Florida. He gets Marchand back. Everybody's balking at the years and the dollar amount there. Ekblad decides to stay and run it back. They re-signed Bennett. They and again, something we've talked about a lot on the show. And here comes everybody crying from the back of the room about the no state taxes, Mac, which that I think is a complete and utter load of absolute crap. And we're going to talk about another one of those teams that obviously got the belle of the ball, if you will, yesterday. But the Florida Panthers, I can't say I'm surprised, Mac, and they know how to do it, and they know how to do it right. And it's amazing when you build a winning culture, Mac, that how many people will come back and take less money to do it. Winning actually is the ultimate high. Well, who knew?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can make an argument that they may have extended some of these guys to, those end of those contracts. They may not be the player that they are right now, but that's not what the point is. The point is what are they right now? And what the Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And what they want to be is 3-time or 4-time Stanley Cup champions. And how do you do that? You support the guys that got you there. And that's exactly what the Florida Panthers did. We can't say it enough. It's that winning culture. It's special. It doesn't last forever, obviously. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, look at the Boston Celtics. win the NBA championship a year ago. Everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, this team is going to be so good for the next couple of years. They used the D word, the dynasty word on the Celtics. And now look at them. This is a team that, let's be honest, may struggle to make a playoffs this year. But, that's just the way that sports goes. But so that thing in Florida is so special. And, I honestly, I like those things. I like when those things happen. I like those dominant teams. I'm going to root for them a little bit. I'm going to be in that Florida Panthers bandwagon. I'm jumping on just a little bit because I want you don't get to see that very often. 3 times in a row, that's special.
Yeah, and those of you that have followed us long enough, you know by now that Vegas Mac is still an NHL fan free agent because the Coyotes were ripped from Arizona, so he still has not declared his planted his flag, if you will, on the ice of any particular team. But I seem to think that apparently the state of Florida, according to people, is the only place that doesn't have a state tax. Well, let me inform some of you out there in the uninformed world.
Incorrect.
Florida, which has 2 teams, as some of you might know, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. Nashville, the Predators, went out and spent a hell of a lot of money, but Nashville doesn't quite have a culture of winning yet. And that's something that they're desperately working on as they sit idly by during this. The Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Seattle Kraken. So for everybody that's whining and complaining, and this comes from Bleed Blue Paul on X, and I thought he brought up a good point here. Cups in the last 32 years by teams with no state income tax, 7. That means 25 times teams with state income tax have won the cup. It's not about taxes. It's not the reason why a Canadian team hasn't won a cup in 32 years. It's about culture, great coaching, and having an incredible ownership and front office. I don't think you can say it any better than that. You can be jealous of what the Panthers are doing right now, and villains are great for sports, and you should hate the Panthers, especially if you're an Eastern Conference hockey fan, because you ain't the Panthers, and that's the bottom line here. And again, like you just mentioned, you can balk at the years and everything. Brad Marchand's going to be 43 when this contract expires. Well, Florida is going, okay, but we can probably, if these guys all play at the level that they did, and Florida is so deep. Like Florida's got a core 10 signed through 2030 here. If these guys can perform at the same level for 33% of that time, Florida's going to leave this with 5 Stanley Cups and 6 finals appearances. Nobody in Florida is going to complain about those deals at the end. I mean, I've dealt with it as a Golden State Warriors fan who are doing, close your eyes, absolutely nothing right now. You knew at some time the tax bill was going to come due and you couldn't build the team. But I will tell you right now, every Warriors fan out there that lived through the Chris Cohan era of ownership and the god-awful Golden State teams that they had for years would not trade the last 15 years for anything in their sports life. So you can balk at it from the outside, and that's fine. But from the inside, Florida knows exactly what they're trying to do right now, and they have no problem with it. And that's exactly what you want out of an ownership group. I mean, there's other ownership groups that you could have right now in sports, but, it is what it is. And before we go on and you drop your point in here, it is International Joke Day, also known as the Oakland A's, Sacramento A's, Las Vegas A's ownership under John Fisher. So those jokes just write themselves. I mean, what do you make of it? And is Florida unbeatable going into next year in the East?
I mean, they certainly look like they are. I mean, this is a team again, and again, let's remember, they had a good regular season. They didn't have a great regular season, and I don't expect them to have a great regular season again. They turned it on the second half of the season, and I expect Florida to kind of be the same thing. I expect them to be around a 500 team, maybe a little bit better, get to the All-Star break, and then once the second half of the season, they'll start to cook again. And once the tournament begins, it's the Florida Panthers again. I mean, they're going to be there, and so don't get worried when they don't get off to a 13-0 start in the regular season. It's okay. I mean, They've played a lot the last couple of years. They know exactly what to do. The script is there in front of them. They're in good shape.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's taking less money only works when everybody does it, and that's attributed to the culture. I mean, that's exactly what it
Hmm.
is. Like, and you look at the breakdown of some of the deals that have gone down, and we're going to talk about Mitch Marner here in just a second, but Marchand and Ekblad 11.4 million, Marner 12 million. Evan Bouchard's deal yesterday to stay with the Oilers, and the Oilers now have a core four, which I don't call it that because we know the core four didn't work out very well in Toronto, but they paid Bouchard $10.5 million. So you got Marchand and Ekblad back for $11.4 million. Again, it only works if everybody takes less together. We made our predictions last week of where we thought Mitch Marner was going to go. And in the most anticlimactic move in the history of the world, Marner heads to Las Vegas on an 8-year contract with an AAV of $12 million in return for Marner. In the sign and trade, the Maple Leafs acquired Nicholas Roy. 13 Stanley Cup playoff games, 2 goals, 11 assists. Marner, grew up about 20 minutes northeast of Toronto. He did everything he could for that franchise, and that group just couldn't get it done. And we knew this was coming, and I don't think any of us are surprised that he ends up in Las Vegas.
No, not at all. And that's how Vegas works. I mean, if you look at the history of the Knights, um, how did they get so good so fast? They are very, very bold and are not afraid to make a trade. They're not afraid, to bring in these big names. Eichel, they're losing one of their defensemen, which is going to hurt a little bit. But listen, this Vegas team is going to be again. Top of the West. I mean, they're going to be right there, and this is just only going to help. I still question their goaltending a little bit, but that's a different story. But if they can score 5 or 6 goals a game, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, and other moves of note, Provorov signs in Columbus, the team I talked about last week. I expected to make a splash. He gets a fat deal from the Blue Jackets, who will, I think, continue to be aggressive here. Deals that came down today. Brock Besser, a little bit surprising. He stays in Vancouver, 7 years, $50.7 million. The Rangers get another prize defenseman on the market in Vladislav Gavrikov, 7 years, $49 million, as the Rangers continue the overhaul of the Rangers with Sully in tow. And again, we talked about that trade on draft day, and we'll talk a little bit more about the draft and some of the fallout of that tomorrow. But the trade on draft day, where they had a choice of this year's pick or next year's pick, the expectation in New York is they're going to be back in contention with Sullivan behind the bench. Gavrikov obviously goes a long way to that. I don't think the Rangers are done either. But the Rangers got to keep next year's first round pick, which will be a valuable tool for them if they're back in contention like they're expecting to be in New York this season with Sullivan there. So they kept that pick. And I think that's something that, those kind of things, Mac, get lost in the news cycle and kind of pushed down to the end because they're not flashy. But I think that was a very shrewd move by the Rangers.
Yeah, and the Rangers are going to trade a Andre Miller to Carolina, and they're going to get picks in return for that as well. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We talked about Florida and what they did, and obviously we know where the bar is. The bar is Florida. I don't know that too many teams in the Eastern Conference have pushed themselves closer to that bar. That is the Florida Panthers. I think Vegas has. I mean, that's a huge, another. I mean, man, Vegas is going to be able to put the puck in the net. I would think, at a pretty good clip with what they've got. You have Marner and Eichel and Tomas Hertl. I mean, they're going to be able to score some goals. That again, it's going to be a fun team to watch. But yeah, again, here's the Panthers. I mean, where are you guys? Where are all these Eastern Conference teams? Are they climbing that ladder? Kind of seems a little stale with a lot of these teams. Like they just not. I don't know. Maybe they're waving the white flag already.
Yeah, and it's interesting the dichotomy of the NBA's East and the NHL's East. The NBA's East is wide ass open. You wouldn't know it by what happened yesterday. today, a little bit more on that front. We'll get to that in a second. Another move to pass along from today. By the way, Marner is going to wear 93 for those that care in Las Vegas. The Los Angeles Kings continue their overhaul. Moms in the greater Los Angeles area, be on the lookout. And the Kings might have guaranteed that they cannot win the Stanley Cup next year, is Corey Perry. They finally got Corey Perry after being envious of their neighbors, the Anaheim Ducks, when he was there from 2015 to 2019. Perry signs with the Kings on a one-year deal that could be worth up to $3.5 million with bonuses. The Kings are another team that is trying to overhaul some stuff and get over their mental hump, which is the Edmonton Oilers. So they decided to take a guy from the Edmonton Oilers, and we'll see how that plays out for him. But Perry had a good year last year. His 20th season. I mean, he's no spring chicken anymore. 10 goals in the playoffs, played in his 5th Stanley Cup final in 6 seasons. So the Kings might get to the final, but this pretty much guarantees that they won't win the final because Corey Perry is the killer of it. NHL Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll keep you guys apprised of everything. TJ should be back with us tomorrow. He was supposed to be back with us today, but thanks to one particular airline that will go unnamed, he was stuck in New York last night. So still not back from the East Coast. As far as we know, he is on, as he calls, the aluminum flying tube on his way back to the OC right now. I would have loved a picture of him sleeping on the floor in the airport last night, but he did not have to do that. Sources have told me that he did not have to do that last night. So we'll keep an eye on the NHL. If anything big breaks for us while we're on the air here, we will obviously pass it along, and more on the NHL tomorrow. Some CBA chatter. Sounds like we're close to a new CBA and stuff like that. Mac, it's time for your favorite thing in the world. Major League Baseball.
All right.
Last night was an interesting night on the diamond in the big leagues. We had a handful of games, and let's go around the horn. We'll start in Philadelphia, Mac, where the Phillies beat the Padres 4-0. Zach Wheeler, 10 strikeouts over 8 scoreless, gave up 6 hits, no walks. Third 10K game without a walk this season. He is tied for the Major League lead with Logan Webb, Tarek Skubal, and Spencer Schwellenbach, 2-1 with an 0.58 ERA in June. Since 1912, he is the 4th Philadelphia pitcher to post a sub 0.60 on 30 innings pitched in a month. They also got Bryce Harper back for the first time since June 5th with that wrist issue. Waldron made his first start for the Friars last night, and Jackson Merrill pulled off an incredible grand theft in center field, robbing Max Kepler for a home run. But the Phillies now get Harper back, Mac, and in a division that is wide open for the taking right now, Phillies right where we expected them to be.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies all of a sudden now they're starting to take control of the East just a little bit. The Mets, that's a whole nother situation, but they're now 2 up on the Mets. It's been the pitching. The Phillies pitching has been really, really good. I mean, I know they lost 3 last week to Houston, but I mean, they didn't really give up very much in those games. It was a 2-0, 1-0, 2-1. I mean, the Phillies pitching has been absolutely fantastic for them this year and just continues to get better and better. So, that's a really fun series. Nick Pivetta, remember his last time out against Mackenzie Gore, 10 strikeouts. Let's see if he can back it up. Remember, he was originally a Philadelphia Philly, so let's see what he does there.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one tonight. Pittsburgh stays hot as they shut out the St. Louis Cardinals 7-0. Andrew Heaney, 3 hits, no earned, and 1 walk with 7 strikeouts. That's 4 in a row for the Buccos. St. Louis came in hot with a 3-game sweep of Cleveland tonight. We'll get Palante and Paul Skeens. Can the Buccos stay hot as they're starting to make a little bit of a move? They got a long way to go, but they're playing good baseball right now.
Yeah, I looked it up. They had a 16-15 month, and you say, well, that's not real great, but you know what? It actually is. I mean, it's above 500. It's better than what they were before King took over. So, before Kelly took over. So, I mean, they're showing some signs. And isn't this exactly what the Pirates want? You have a 4-game winning streak, and boom, now you got to face Skeens. They got to feel good about going 5-0.
Yeah, absolutely. There, feel free to comment along if you're watching along with us. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show everywhere, but Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. comment along, and the right people that push the buttons will get your comments up on the air. Toronto, they beat the Yankees last night 5-4. Max Scherzer goes 5 innings, gives up 3 hits, and struck out 7. Vladimir Guerrero 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Toronto's now 2 games back of the Yankees. They are in firm control of the second wildcard spot. And this Yankees team, man, I looked ahead at their schedule. They've got a 26-game stretch that started yesterday with 23 games against teams above 500. And the other team that they play in there is Atlanta. And this is in and out of the All-Star break ahead to the trade deadline. The Yankees are in a brutal stretch right here, and they're getting pressure from both Toronto and Tampa Bay, who we'll get to in a second. But Scherzer, if Toronto can get 5 innings in the pitching performance out of Max Scherzer that he gave them last night, I think Toronto, with the depth of their pitching staff, is a real threat, not only in the East, but in the American League.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same. I mean, the last couple of years, I've really been high on Toronto. They've just not played up to their expectations. I mean, I don't know if the fact that Vlad got himself a contract that's kind of relaxed him a little bit. There's still Bichette out there that we don't know, but listen, I watched this Toronto team this weekend. It's a good lineup. The one person that kind of we don't talk a lot about is Clement. He's hitting 306. And he's a really good defender. So I really like the Toronto team. I know everyone's been kind of on Tampa Bay, kind of catching the Yankees, but I think Toronto will be the one. And Aaron Boone's starting to get a little bit of heat.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be something to absolutely watch. Addison Barger already commenting. I'm remiss, and thank you out there in Watcherland. I forgot my favorite day of the year. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, as we posted early this morning to everybody that celebrates. That contract, and obviously he's not the only one, but Bobby Bonilla and his agent Gilbert, they walked so the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers could run, so to speak. Fun one in Beantown last night, Mac. 13-6. The Red Sox beat the Reds. Wilyer Abreu goes inside the park, and then he goes salami in the same damn game. Garrett Crochet looked a little mortal last night for the Red Sox. Gave up 7 hits, 4 earned, did strike out 9 with a walk, and Chase Burns didn't make it out of the first inning. He got tattooed pretty good. Defense didn't help him, and some thoughts that he might have been tipping pitches last night, which is not surprising for a young pitcher, but Burns looked really good in his debut against the Yanks, and he did not look really good in his second start against the Red Sox.
Yeah, they were talking about that on the game last night, and sometimes Fenway Park can do that to you. I mean, a young player, first time at Fenway Park. I mean, you go out there, for those of you who've been to Fenway, the fans are right on top of you, and you have that big green monster out in left field. It's intimidating. It truly is. I mean, it just feels like every fly ball you give up, could be a home run. But good first inning for the Red Sox. They did something that they haven't been able to do most of the year, and that's tack on more runs after that. But listen, I want to talk about tonight's game because there's something special. If you get the NESN broadcast, they're going to go back to 1975. It's the 50-year anniversary of the Red Sox in 1975 when they won the American League East, defeated Oakland, and got to play the Reds in the World Series. That was the rookie year of Fred Lynn, the rookie year of Jim Rice. That's the reason. Well, I'm not going to lie. That's the reason that I'm a huge Red Sox fan. They suckered me in right in 75. But, that's the team that had Yaz on it. And Carlton Fisk, of course, the iconic home run. But they're going to do something special on the broadcast. They're going to go back to 1975. They're going to be dressed up in those outfits. They're going to have the old uniforms. They're going to have all the stats, and everything's going to be back to 1975. So if you like a little bit of nostalgia, check it out tonight. It should be fun.
Yeah, it should be a fun one tonight as well. I mean, we'll get a little bit more on this Red Sox Reds a little bit later. Maybe they make an appearance in Liquid Locks. The Athletics of Western Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas, wherever the hell they are. They beat Tampa Bay 6-4 last night. And as TJ says it, and if he could hear us on the plane, if he's watching along, because I know he is, Coffee, beer, and Bangaliers. Shea Langoliers comes back last night, his first game back, hits a home run for the Athletics. They get a big win. Law Dog Lawrence Butler with a ninth inning tie-breaking triple. Colby Thomas, the left fielder for Oakland, if you have not seen this throw that he made last night, it is the I'm throwing everything in my soul into this to can a guy at home plate. It was the bottom of the eighth. The game was still tied. Just an absolute rocket of a throw from Thomas last night to keep the game tied. And again, Lawrence Butler in the ninth was able to get the win for the A's, who have the struggle bus has been part of the A's. But hey, Mark Kotze bought a house in Anthem in Henderson. So, I mean, of course, we know it's a done deal to Vegas when that's happening. Tampa Bay gets a little slowed by the Athletics last night, and they've been red hot, and we'll see what happens tonight as they play game 2 of that series. I don't know what to make about this A's team, man. It's a really confounding position for me because I can't support anything that their clown ass owner and his hand holding commissioner does. And I like a lot of these guys on this team: Nicholas Kurtz, Brent Rooker, the Law Dog. Obviously, Shea Langoliers is a favorite of the show, Mac. But the Athletics get a rare win here, and let's see what happens in game 2 of that series. But Tampa's been hot, and we've talked about the Rays and you know, their playoff situation and all of that. They're right behind the Yankees. They still have that first wild card spot. Not a game you want to lose if you're Tampa.
Yeah, the battle of the AAA facilities is what that was, and yeah, I was going to say that throw reminded me of, remember, Eric Burns.
Yep.
D-backs and whatnot. He used to uncork at least one of those every game. That's what it reminded me of. I thought it was getting Eric Burns back in action, especially with the A's. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a lot of guys on this Athletics team that are fun. It's actually a fun team to kind of watch them play. But yeah, you can't get behind them. Just, it's kind of weird. It's a really weird situation. Both teams, but even with Tampa, it's just the whole thing is kind of weird.
Yeah, speaking of the struggle bus, two teams that are driving that struggle bus last night, the Orioles and the Rangers. The Orioles beat the Rangers 10-6 in 11 innings. Adolis Garcia had a massive game-tying home run that he celebrated incredibly, and it all went for naught because the next inning the Orioles piled on 4 more. That moves the O's to 37 and 47, drops the Rangers to 41 and 44. And, you know, we're sitting here waiting for that powder keg of the offense of the Rangers to blow up, man. And you know, even when they have a halfway decent finish to a game, it's their offensive struggles at the start of the game doomed them yet again. You can't play from behind every single night.
No, you know, my biggest takeaway from both these teams is which one's going to deal first, which one's going to make a trade first. And not for a good reason. I just, we're too far into the season now to, you know, their colors are what they are. They just can't get going. Neither one of these teams can get going. Baltimore is a huge disappointment. We kind of knew that kind of going in, that their pitching wasn't going to be good. You know, they're minus 73 in run differential. That's absolutely just boggles my mind that they would be like that. I mean, just that bad. But I mean, I'm interested to see which one of these teams budges first at the deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. In Seattle last night, Cal Raleigh continues to make history as the Mariners beat the Royals 6-2. Hit number 33 last night. Most home runs by June 30th in Major League Baseball history. Bonds in 2001 with 39. McGuire in 98 with 37. Griffey in 98 with 33. And Sosa in 98. The summer of 98 was something, man. 98, he hit 33. Randy Arozarena also added 2 home runs last night for the Mariners. They get a big win that they needed. And, you know, Cal Raleigh, and his name will come up here in just a little bit, but Cal Raleigh is doing something else. And I hope the East Coast bias isn't preventing people from getting a chance. I mean, he's now at the point last night where I saw a graphic that popped up, Cal Raleigh's first home run since June 22nd. When you're getting the graphic for you haven't hit a home run in 8 days, that's how great of a season you're having. And again, you said it last week, and I think this really needs to be echoed here, is Chicks dig the long ball. We do dollar dingers. Everybody loves the home run. But how valuable Cal Raleigh is to the Mariners in what he does behind the plate as well. An incredible season by Raleigh. I think he might have a shot to win AL MVP depending on if the struggles in New York continue. Maybe there's some recency bias and people don't vote for Aaron Judge. I mean, again, we've talked about Judge several times. He's having a historic season, but Cal Raleigh is on record pace not only as a catcher but as a Mariners team record holder. I mean, when we've still got over a dozen games left before the All-Star break, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, there's only been two catchers in the history of Major League Baseball that have done what he's done: 33 home runs, 70 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. That's for the year. Those two guys, Carlton Fisk and Ivan Rodriguez, that's pretty damn good company. And he's done this before the All-Star break. I mean, I have to say, I mean, if I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote, I mean, I know Aaron Judge has done some great things so far this year, but I mean, Cal Raleigh's my MVP right now. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He is my American League MVP. I mean, you have to understand he's just like you said, defensively, he's doing what he needs to do. I mean, and it's just not the home runs. He's 71 RBIs. He's batting 276. I mean, he's having a damn good year and playing the toughest position you can on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Final game from last night, the struggle bus continues for the San Francisco
I was going to ask
Giants.
Mike, do you think he's going to get to 60 home runs?
Right now, I don't see how you can say that he doesn't get to 60. I mean, he's at 33. And again, we've got like a dozen games left before the All-Star break. And Seattle's not an easy place to hit home runs either. That's the impressive thing about it. I mean, he's hitting 2 home run games in Wrigley. I mean, the power is everywhere this year. So I would say right now, I would kind of expect him to get to 60. Who's a team that might not score 60 runs for the rest of the season? The San Francisco Giants lose to the Diamondbacks again last night. The Giants lose again. Last night's edition was to the Diamondbacks 4-2. They've dropped 6 of their last 7, and they've scored 7 runs in the first 4 games of this road trip. The Diamondbacks get a big win. The Diamondbacks and our guy Cam Cox from 12 Sports out here in Arizona had an interesting thing when the Diamondbacks, and we know the struggles of the Diamondbacks bullpen. But this is the most telling thing. He put this out on Sunday: 28 blown lead losses versus Miami when they got swept by the Marlins. They led every game. They scored 18 runs in 3 games. They struck out 37 and still got swept. There is no way in hell, and I'll get to the Giants here in a second, Mac, but there is no way in hell I can see this Arizona team being buyers at the deadline. It doesn't make fiscal sense. It doesn't make long-term sense for the Diamondbacks. I think it's time to move some of these guys out, get what you can get in return, and take your swings in free agency next year. I think if the Diamondbacks choose to if Mike Hazen's, we're definitely going to be buyers. If they stay on that route, I think it is catastrophically a bad decision for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this. I mean, they've got some really good pieces. Gino Suarez is a good piece. They've got a couple of pitchers that they can move. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the year. We kind of joked about it. It's like you look at the history of the Diamondbacks, their bullpen has been a big problem. They just can never seem to figure it out. And, I'd say this weekend is an example, but like every week has been an example. I mean, if they could have won half the games that they've blown, half those saves, if they win half those games, they're probably leading the National League West. That's how good a team they actually could be. So, but yeah, I have to 100% agree with you. I can't see this team be buyers unless they're going to buy a completely new bullpen. That's the only thing I can say. They're going to go out and just bullpen, and try to make it work. But even then, like you said, I don't think it's the way to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can buy a new bullpen now. I mean, they had a Senate bill passed for improvements to the airplane hangar that is Chase Field, which, again, I'm not going to shy away from what I feel about Chase Field. It is a dump, and I'm happy for the Diamondbacks that they will now get a chance to make some much-needed improvements to that ballpark. When it first opened, it was incredible. It was a lot of fun. The outfield panels, the pool, there was a lot to it. And now it's just a cavernous, like, airplane hangar. Let's speak of something else that happened last night in the Giants Diamondbacks game. Christian Koss had a would-be home run last night, and the Giants, and struggling to score runs, they need everything they can. And a fan interfered with a ball that would have been a home run, and it was originally called an out. It was a disaster by the umpiring crew, and this, that, and the other thing. But this same fan has been involved in 5 of these incidents now.
4 or 5, yeah.
It's been 5, twice against the Giants. Like, at what point do you not realize you're a dumbass? And at what point do the Diamondbacks not realize, hey, this guy, cool, if he wants to come to a game, fantastic. You're not allowed to sit in the lower level anywhere because you're an absolute idiot. I mean, 5 times this guy has done this in those left field bleachers at Chase Field. Like 5. I mean, one time you do it, you're a moron anyways. Hence the 2 freaking Goombas last year in the World Series that did it to Mookie Betts. But, like 5 times. Like, and I'm not going to, there's a lot of people right now, and I wanted to ask you this specifically because I know you've been to a lot of ballparks with kids and traveled the country and everything. I'm not going to pile on a grown man bringing a glove to a baseball game. I'm not, because we all did it when we were kids. I don't appreciate or am not okay with this culture of these grown ass men like knocking over kids to get a home run ball. I love the guys that catch one and they find a kid to hand it to. Don't get me started on McCovey Cove Dave in San Francisco, but do you still bring your glove to games? Because I don't have a problem with that. And a lot of people are going, you're a grown ass man. You shouldn't be bringing a glove to a game. As a dad, there were several times when my kids were really little and we brought them to games. I would bring my glove and make sure I sat on the side of them that before the netting, if a line drive came by, I could protect my kids. But I'm not going to plow over a 6-year-old to catch a damn baseball.
Well, I do bring my glove, but the reason that I bring my glove is because whenever I go to a baseball game, I have to be there when the gates open. It's just kind of where it is. Yeah.
Mama McKenzie's still waiting for the play,
man.
man.
I'll bring up the infamous mistake at the Jake that we had is what my wife is referring to. We were there for one of our trips. We were in Cleveland, and we were there early with the boys catching home runs. I mean, that's the fun part, and they do come. I mean, you need a glove. Let's be honest. And we were out in left field, and a fly ball, a home run was coming, and we were in the front, and it just went to the left of me. Now, if you ever been at batting practice, the pitchers are throwing, they hit it, and then the next one's on the way, and I missed the next one. I didn't even see it. Went right over my head and hit my wife, and she was bruised for quite some time.
You horrible husband.
Just because you have a glove,
you got to know how to use it.
I'm terrible, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. Like I said, I know. I mean, for like at the beginning of the game, like I said, for catching home runs and stuff like that, I bring it, and then I put it away once the game starts. I'm a little hurt. All the years I've ever been. I mean, I've probably gone to hundreds and hundreds of baseball games. I have never ever caught a ball during a game. My sons have. Both of them have. I have never ever caught a game. I've come close, but I've never caught one during a game.
The old catcher can't make a catch at a game. It's fascinating stuff.
I mean, but I'm also, not
she
barrel people over for a ball either. It's just
she still loves.
Yeah.
I got a similar story, and before we get to games of note for tonight, and then we play a little either or and dive into the NBA here. My heckling career started as a young child. Candlestick Park were there, and one of my friends in California can verify this story. Jim Eisenreich was playing for the Phillies, and they're out taking BP, and we were up in the section that they used to pull out for the 49ers and pull back. So we were pretty high up, and we're razzing Eisenreich. Jim Eisenreich was well endowed in the nose department, and I was yelling schnoz at him for about 20 minutes. And as the Phillies were leaving for BP, I turned around to walk away. My friend stayed because he still wanted a ball. Eisenreich lobbed one up to us, because we were there razzing him the whole time. He was getting a good laugh out of it. I turn away, the ball hits me square in the freaking melon, drops right into my friend's glove. So that's about the closest I've been. I have got a home run ball in San Diego before they took out the beach in San Diego. We were there for a Giants Padres series, 4th of July. Walking down from the beer stand. I know that's shocking to everybody. I have 2 Coors Tall Boys in my hand, and a ball comes up what used to be a long walkway to get down to that section. It was perfect for the kids. I mean, the kids got to play in the sand the whole time, got to watch the game. Couldn't have been any better. This ball comes firing up, and I've got beer in both hands, and I'm like, shit, what do I do? And of course, here comes the crowd and everything. I literally take my beer and I put it on top of the ball and press it down to the ground. And there's everybody running over. And one guy yells, hey, you got to give him credit. He used the beer to hold the ball. Let him have it so he doesn't spill his beer, which I appreciated because at $15 a pop, who knows? So games of note tonight in Major League Baseball. Milwaukee in New York, the Mets, they start a series. New York continues their scuffle. The best team in baseball on June 12th, the worst team since. Another interesting one in Los Angeles. And it's not because of the matchup. It's the White Sox and the Dodgers, Shane Smith and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Interesting stat that I saw yesterday from our guy Kyle Corwin from the 3-0 take. The Dodgers have going into this week, the 23rd worst team ERA in baseball. The only teams worse than the Dodgers, Mac, the Angels, the D-backs, the Orioles, the Marlins, the Nationals, the Athletics, and the Rockies. And they're the odds-on favorite to win the World Series. You can never have enough pitching, as we've talked about several times. All right, either or, before we get into the NBA here, Mac, I got a couple for you today. Brady Singer and Dick Fitz tonight from Beantown. Red Sox and Reds in that throwback broadcast that Mac alluded to, something you definitely want to check out if you're a nostalgia old-school baseball fan. Over or under 10 runs at Fenway Park tonight between those two teams?
Oh, well over. Once you start getting into the summer at Fenway, that park plays a little bit different. Weather's been good there. Neither of these guys are, both Fitz he's kind of actually pitched pretty well. He's had a little bit of bad luck, but yeah, definitely the over in that game, especially after what we saw last night. Plus, instead you're going to have all the 75 guys there. Fisk is going to be there. Jim is always there. Jim Rice. Red Sox are going to want to put on a show tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see some fireworks there. And let's do this other one real quick before we dive into the NBA. I'm going to give you a chance to take a big stab at an MVP, an American League MVP or a National League MVP, because I took a pretty sizable stab at one yesterday. So you have your pick of Tarek Skubal to be the AL MVP or Ronald Acuna Jr. to be the National League MVP. The current odds, Skubal's a plus 10,000. He's about 6th on the list. Ronald Acuna is a plus 3,500 now. I bet him when he was a plus 10,000 because, I mean, if you take away the fact that he missed the beginning of the season,
yes.
And he's down to plus 3,500. So if you can take a stab, money is no object, but you have to pick one of these guys to win their league's respective MVP. Is it Tarek Skubal or is it Ronald Acuna?
I'll tell you, because it's going to be because of the struggles of the Atlanta Braves that I'm going to go with Skubal. I mean, he's just been absolutely fantastic. I know there's always that argument, MVP, Cy Young, they kind of have their own thing. But he's been really, really dominant lately and has put up some crazy, crazy numbers. I like the Acuna. I love the play of Acuna, but I just think because of the team not playing well, I think that's going to hurt him kind of down the stretch if they're not in it. I think that's going to hurt. So I would go with Skubal. Now, in your video, you mentioned you have a surprise MVP. Enlighten us, Mr.
When we did our video on Monday on the page about, what was going on in Major League Baseball right now. And I mentioned that I thought, Hunter Brown, because the Astros were the best team in baseball in June, and Hunter Brown was a big reason for that I think Hunter Brown needs to be in the Cy Young conversation. Now, full disclosure, I recorded that video before Sunday Night Baseball started, and I know Skubal is the favorite to win the Cy Young, and he should be. But I did some looking, and our modern era examples: Justin Verlander in 2011, Clayton Kershaw in 2014, pitchers that won the MVP as well. I don't think you can say right now if Detroit motors their motors their way to winning the Central and the
Oh,
top seed in the American League. And if Scooble keeps doing what he did on Sunday night at that price, and one of the sites I use, I was able to boost that to plus 16,000. So I got him at plus 16,000. I got him twice at plus 10,000, and I got him once at plus 12,000. So I am all in on the Scooby train to win American League MVP. And again, modern era examples. Shohei, it doesn't really count because he won it for as much as he did at the plate as he was doing on the mound. I mean, I'm not saying what he did on the mound wasn't a big deal, but when I look back to those exact two examples of Verlander and Kershaw, the two most recent straight pitchers that won MVP, and I kind of looked at their numbers in comparison to Scooby's this year, and I think and again, we just talked about Cal Raleigh. We know the season that Aaron Judge is having. Like he's gonna be right there. And I think at that price, I wouldn't say throw $1,000 on the guy, but I mean
no.
at that price, a $5-10 bet can win you a sizable amount of money, which is great going into like the middle of football season and all that chaos, because then college basketball starts, the NBA, the NHL. Let's get to the NBA. We're going to try and motor through as much of this as we can. There'll be plenty more to talk about tomorrow. But the big move yesterday in NBA free agency as it started, the first move was Dorian Finney-Smith, 4 years and $53 million. He goes from the Lakers to the Rockets. Maybe you shouldn't quietly tell people that his ankle's done. I'm just throwing that out as a suggestion for a certain general manager out there. The Rockets continue their offseason overhaul. And if you just look, Mac, at the guys that the Rockets have acquired in trade, Kevin Durant, the guys that have re-signed, Fred VanVleet and Jabari Smith, and then they get Clint Capella and they get Dorian Finney-Smith. Those five guys could be a team that probably wins a playoff spot in the West by itself, let alone the other pieces that Houston has. And again, how can you not applaud an ownership group and a team for saying, screw your aprons, screw your numbers, we're going all in. We got a closer, a finisher. The Houston Rockets, man, are the West was already really good. Denver has reloaded very well. We'll get to them in a second, but Houston
Yes.
is, I mean, just an absolute incredible job by the Rockets, and they are a team to be feared next year, and they still might not be done, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were really disappointed. I mean, they had a good year, a good regular season. I think they were disappointed in how things went come the playoffs. Emi Udoka is a really, really good coach. I loved when he was with Boston. But listen, you got to make changes. I mean, that's the thing I was kind of talking about when we were talking about a little bit with the NHL. It's like if you're gonna keep your team the same and you didn't win a championship the year before, then there's something wrong. You want your team to be better. And the Houston Rockets, I'm sure they watched that whole final series and said, you know what do we need to do in order to for that to be us next year? Oh, we struggled in a half court. We need a scorer. Oh, okay, well, we'll go and get Kevin Durant. That solves all that in itself. If they had done nothing else, that in itself solved a lot of problems. But you're 100% correct. I mean, the fun thing about the NHL or the NBA free agency is when your team is actually doing something. When your team is doing it, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's like watching a race and the cars are flying by and none of them are your car. And just all these teams are just like, yeah, Oklahoma City, they're the champs, but Houston's like, hey, we're right here. You know what? Wait till next year. That's going to be us. That's the fun part. That's the exciting part of free agency. And Houston's knocked it out of the ballpark so far.
Yeah, absolutely. The Memphis Grizzlies were active yesterday. They signed Ty Jerome to a 3-year, $28 million deal. They bring him over from Cleveland. Cam Spencer, everybody's giant pain in the ass. He played really well on a two-way for Memphis last year. He gets a 2-year fully guaranteed contract. They re-signed Santi Aldama, 3 years, $52 million. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., 5 years, $240 million extension. They then also added a couple other pieces in there. But, I like what Memphis is doing here, especially in converting Spencer's contract and getting Ty Jerome. They're bulking up on guards because Ja Morant hasn't been able to stay healthy. And Memphis has taken a complete pivot here that Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are their cornerstones. That's why we saw Desmond Bane get moved. But, again, a team in the West that's desperately hoping for expansion in the NBA because they probably get moved to the East. I'm sure they wish they could get moved to the East this year because the East is wide ass open. But I like the moves that the Grizzlies made, and I do think Jaren Jackson Jr. was worth every penny of that massive extension that they gave him.
Yeah, I mean, and this is exactly what we're talking about. Is this West is? I mean, I don't even. I mean, you'd probably have to put OKC as the favorite because they're the defending champs. But I mean, and a team that we talked about a little bit last week, New Orleans. You've been going around and around and around with a lot of the New Orleans fans about what they're doing there, and I mean, this is going to be a different team as well. I mean, if you make the playoffs in the West, you have earned it, my friend. And you look at teams, like the Lakers. We haven't heard very much from the Lakers. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. The West is an absolute beast right now. The East, like you said, I'm sure some teams would like to petition to get transferred over. Absolutely.
Yeah, and these New Orleans Pelicans fans, let me remind you real quickly. Oh, Joe Dumars is a terrible general manager, one of the worst ever. Again, if you have half of the success that Dumars had as an exec for the Pistons in New Orleans, you're going to love it. Let me also remind you that your franchise history, you're sub 500 with minimal playoff opportunities and a team that was kind of a disaster. Joe Dumars is building this team in the image that he wants. They signed Kevon Looney yesterday. They make the trade for Jordan Poole. They draft Derek Queen, and you can say whatever you want, but this is the thing that people need to understand. Nobody knows anything about the draft. Well, I had some guy arguing with me on X about probability, and if you bought 5 lottery tickets and you traded them for 1, and you have no idea who the hell that pick's going to be. You have no idea where you're going to fall. Would you say this is a young New Orleans team that's rebuilding their image and the way they play basketball? Could it be a top lottery pick? Absolutely. But Derek Queen could also be an all-star in 2 years. And what difference does that make? New Orleans was terrible on the boards last year. They were a very non-tough team last year. They're big. They've added a lot of size this year. If you're a Pelicans fan and you're not excited about what the Pelicans are doing, I question if you know anything about basketball right now. And again, you can tell me that, Dumars drafted Milicic or whatever the hell. Every general manager is drafted an absolute stiff. It happens everywhere. We know nothing about these guys. Next year's draft looks like it could be loaded, but these guys are making more money in college, and you don't necessarily know that all these guys are going to come out next year. You can't put a value on something fictitious in the future. They like Derek Queen. They like his defensive toughness. They like his ability to rebound. That was the guy they wanted, and they went and got him. And then other Pelicans fans, well, if they liked him so much, they could have got him at 7. Well, hello, they had another pick at 7 that you guys are completely glossing over. By the way, I am going to buy a Pelicans Fears jersey because he's wearing the number 0. So it's Fears 0. That's how can you not Fears. Love that? I almost want to bet the guy for rookie of the year next year, but the Pelicans fans, calm down, dude. You can go back to sub 500 and your comments about the Pelicans. Sometimes you forget they're even in the NBA. You're not going to forget that this year.
No. And I'll tell you what, with Joe Dumars there and what he's done, I've been very critical of Zion. Very, every joke in the book and whatnot. And I think he's been a complete wash. I really, truly do. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to go out and expect, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. I think this is going to be the year the year of Zion. I really do. I think there Dumars is that type of person. He's gonna tell him there's not even a line to walk. He's gonna say, "This is my expectation of you. I've played with great superstars. If you want to be a great superstar, this is what you've got to do. And if you don't, listen, here's the deal. You're out. He'll get rid of him. He'll make a trade. He'll find something to do with Zion if it doesn't work out. So this could be finally the year that we see Zion, because if it's not, he's not going to be there anymore. That's Dumars isn't that type. He's not going to take from his superstar, and whether we want to admit it or not, he's their superstar. It's got to happen.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I almost feel like I need a cigarette after that. I've been holding on to that one since like freaking Friday, and I don't even smoke. But like these Pelicans fans that are like, "Oh, Dumars is terrible." Everybody you've had there has been terrible. Give a guy who's had success the opportunity to build a damn team. For Christ's sakes.
The fact that we're even talking about the Pelicans should tell you something. When in the past have we even talked about them?
Yep, exactly.
Hello.
Couple other things of note to pass along. You mentioned the Lakers. Jake LaRavia leaves Sacramento to go to Los Angeles, a 2-year, $12 million deal. And I think this was kind of a, oh shit, we just lost Dorian Finney-Smith. Gee, I wonder why you did. Keep your mouth shut. Certain people in the Lakers organization. But it's interesting now for the Lakers. They have 177 guys that are perimeter shooters, and they have 0 guys out of that group that can defend the perimeter. Austin Reeves choosing not to sign a deal. LeBron opts in. This is going to be the first year that he goes into a season on the final year of his deal. The Lakers say so. And again, you got to be very careful right now in what you're reading from who. There's a lot of bullshit that goes out, especially on X around this time of year. People that say they know, they have no idea. They're just throwing shit out for clicks. You got to be careful with this. As we talk about in NFL draft season, it's bullshit season. That's what we call it. But the Lakers are in a very interesting position here in a West that is growing increasingly good. And we're going to try and speed through this. There'll be a lot more on this tomorrow. But Brook Lopez, he goes from Milwaukee to the Clippers. D'Angelo Russell signs a 2-year deal with the Mavericks. Obviously, that's a big move for them because of the length of time that Kyrie will still be out. You know, the Golden State Warriors are literally sitting there with their thumb up their ass doing absolutely nothing, being held hostage by the Jonathan Kuminga situation right now. Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson yesterday. And I talked about it this morning. Can you imagine the amount of open shots that Cam Johnson is going to get in Denver? Plus, they saved about $18 million under the cap in making this move.
I'm glad my team doesn't play in the West. That's all I'm going to tell you, is because it seems like every good team, kind of halfway marginal team in the West, has done something to get better. I'll tell you, the West is going to be must-see basketball this year. Screw the East. That's not even going to be fun to watch. It's all in the West. NBA basketball is about the West this year, folks. It probably has been the last couple of years, but for the most part, it's going to be fun from the start, from day one. That West is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A couple other news and notes to pass along, some interesting stuff. We saw obviously a lot of guys re-sign. Randall, Portis, Harden, Naz Reid, Jalen Williams, the other one in Oklahoma City, Jabari Smith, Nicholas Batum, Jaren Jackson Jr. We talked about, Paul Reed stays in Detroit, Taurean Prince and Gary Trent, they stay in Milwaukee. I don't think any of those are surprising moves for us. Another interesting move, and here's the thing, we just talked about Denver and the Cam Johnson edition. Denver also brought back Bruce Brown, who was a huge part of their championship run. And then they make a move today to acquire Jonas Valanciunas from the Kings for Dario Saric. That's an absolute heist. So now they get some solid center depth, and DeAndre Jordan was good for them behind Jokic, but Valanciunas brings a lot of the similar things that Nikola Jokic does. And I think now, with the way that they've retooled this team, they still have Aaron Gordon, they still have Jamal Murray. Christian Brown is going to be another one that's going to get a lot of money here soon. This Denver team, and remember this, and I think a lot of people forget this, with Oklahoma City winning, this Denver team was the team that pushed OKC to the brink, and they got exponentially better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many other ways we can say that the West is going to be great. This Denver team, you have to remember, they're just a couple years removed from a championship as well. I mean, this, you know, again, there's still a lot of things to be seen. I mean, just because a team like Houston or Denver acquires these pieces, a lot of them look good on paper. We'll have to wait and see how it actually looks on the court. But man, oh man, yeah. I mean, like I talked about it. It's like some of these teams are just getting passed by. Like you said, I know being a Warriors fan, it's got to be tough to see all these teams getting better. And here's your team, a borderline playoff team, and it's like next year's going to be rough.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I talked about this last week. I mean, they're sitting there literally being held hostage by the Jonathan Kuminga situation. And I screamed from the rooftops a year ago, trade him
Yep.
now. And now they can't do a damn thing. Now, I will say
Yep.
this. It is very likely that the Warriors are up to something. Now, what that something is, we won't be able to tell you because
Big
here's the
Al.
thing. If Jonathan Kuminga was going to get a big deal from somebody, he would have already gotten it. He hasn't. And when Nas Reed signed his deal and he was at $25 million a year, that would have been like to Jonathan Kuminga the oh shit moment. Like, I'm not Nas Reed, and that's my ceiling because I think his agent hasn't been his best friend here, and he thinks he's worth way more than that on an open market deal. And if he would have gotten that, or if somebody wanted that, they would have given it to him already. Now, here's another interesting thing. Before we talk about the only team in the East that really matters right now that did anything, well, there's two as of this morning. We're going to try and get through these quickly and get up on out of here. Plenty to talk about on tomorrow's show as well. Keep an eye on the Utah Jazz. And I say this because the deal that they made over the weekend, trading Sexton to the Hornets for Yusuf Nurkic, it was very much a head scratcher. Ace Bailey has landed in Utah. It sounds like that's all good and worked out. We know they got Walter Clayton, obviously Lauri Markkanen last year. But I'm telling you, Danny Ainge is always up to something. Austin Ainge was trained by Danny Ainge. So the Ainge
Always.
family is always up to something. And to trade Colin Sexton for Yusuf and a pick for Yusuf Nurkic tells me we've got our eyes on something else here and something probably pretty big because that's the only way that deal makes any sense. They bought out Jordan Clarkson. He's going to sign with the Knicks. They're moving money. They're moving pieces. They're acquiring interesting contracts. They're up to something. Finally, Mac, in the East, the only team that's done a damn thing. And I sent a tweet out yesterday. I'm like, what time does free agency start for the Eastern Conference? Because apparently they don't know that it's already started. The Hawks, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 4 years and $62 million. They pull him from Minnesota. That was a sign and trade. Cash in a second went back to Minnesota. Luke Kennard, sharpshooter from Memphis. He signs a 1 year, $11 million deal. And the trade for Kristaps Porzingis last night. This Hawks team is positioning themselves, and I would say right now at current construction, and again, Porzingis, as you well know, Mac, is kind of a wild card with whatever his health issue is. But I think in the positioning of this Eastern Conference, with the unknown of Giannis, and we'll talk about Milwaukee's big move here in a second, I would say right now, I would probably call the Hawks on paper the third best team in the East. And it's been a long time since the Hawks have been that good.
Absolutely. We'd have to go back to, man, Neek before around Neek's time, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is all of a sudden, again, this is going to be a fun team to watch. I mean, if Porzingis is healthy, he does so much for you. The pick and pop, the pick and roll. I mean, he's a great defender. He really is a really good defender. When you watch him, he really does play good defense. I mean, yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, I guess you would say Cleveland would be number one in the East, and then, I mean, I don't know, pick him out of a hat, really. I mean, no Boston, Indiana's going to be hurting. The Knicks still can't find a coach. I think, who knows? They'll probably go with an AI coach or something. I think that's what I'm predicting. They're going to have an AI coach for the season, and I mean. I don't. That's really it. I almost would put him second. I don't know who would be above him.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Knicks in the mix. The Knicks' second interview scheduled with Mike Brown. It sounds like he is now the front runner. They reached out to Don Staley. Yeah. The Knicks might have a coach by opening day. Let's just put it that way. A couple
Doesn't
of things
doesn't
else to
that say
pass.
I doesn't that say something about the Knicks though? It's like you would think, MSG, that's the Knicks. It's well, it's an iconic franchise. You can't get anybody to coach that team. Well, I don't
I
know.
think the Knicks really
Worries
thought
me.
that and still think that they can get Jason Kidd out of Dallas, and it's not going to friggin' happen. One final note here before Liquid Locks, and
It's
this
not
was
going
the
to
big
happen.
one from this morning, as the Milwaukee Bucks use the waive and stretch provision to waive Damian Lillard. They'll get to pay his entire contract out over 5 seasons, and right about the same time that happened, Miles Turner is now a Milwaukee Buck, and that's going to
Oh,
look really,
yeah,
really weird. They signed Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal, and the rumor was before Hallie blew his Achilles out that the Pacers were going to go into the luxury tax for the first time ever. And we weren't sure if they were going to with the Halliburton situation, kind of similar to what Boston's doing in unloading contracts off that roster. And Miles Turner is going to be wearing and the Bucks Pacers recent rivalry too makes that even more interesting. That he's now going to be playing for Milwaukee. The question is, will he be playing alongside Giannis or not? And that's going to be something that's going to take probably a little while longer to figure out. But that the waive and stretch provision was put in for that exact reason. Damian Lillard gets to go rehab around his family in Portland and then choose his next destination. The Bucks will pay out the duration of the contract over 5 years, and they take some of that money right away and they go grab Miles Turner. Interesting move. Have they done enough in re-signing Trent and Prince and Bobby Portis and now bringing in Miles Turner? They traded Pat Connaughton today. They're trying to make the moves to hopefully keep Giannis there. And I
yep,
think Giannis has got an interesting decision because of what we just talked about. The East is so open. Do
right.
the Bucks have enough to win in the East is the question.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not going to take a whole lot to win the East. I mean, like I said, it's Cleveland and or bust. I mean, I just or I mean Atlanta now. So I mean, Atlanta's got to feel really good about what they've done. But yeah, I think if Giannis looks at this situation and says, what's my best option? I mean, I don't see why going back to Milwaukee wouldn't be his best option right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And finally, a guy I was really looking to see where he went, Gershon Yabusele. He leaves Philly and goes to New York to play for the Knicks. 2 years, $12 million deal. Another tough grinder worker guy for the Knicks there. And congratulations to Dennis Schroeder, who actually got offered a sizable contract and signed it this time. Part of that sign and trade with Detroit, 3 years, $45 million. Again, there's going to be so much stuff that'll happen between today and tomorrow. We'll have all kinds of stuff. Mike versus Mac tomorrow on our show. Mac's going to look at some MLB on our channels. Mac's going to look at some MLB All-Star Game stuff as well. And then a little bit of a lighter schedule for us this week with the 4th of July coming up. All right, Mac, it is time for the often imitated, never duplicated Liquid Locks. Last week, we went 9-6. Our last show Thursday, we each went 1-1. The Giants in a game they had to win. They lost. And I had the Mets and Atlanta under 8.5. So I won on the Mets game, lost on the other one. You had a loss with Juan Soto over 1.5 total bases. And when TJ comes back tomorrow, we're going to have to settle this. But your CFL liquid lock, Winnipeg minus 9.5, that came through. So 2-2. We finished the week 9-6. And it's time for Tuesday's edition of Liquid Locks. I'll get us started, Mac. We talked about one of these games earlier. I'm going with the over in Beantown on Nostalgia Night, over 10 runs between Cincinnati and Boston. And the AAAs, who clearly have a home field advantage, or an advantage playing in another minor league ballpark against Tampa tonight. I'm also going to play that game over 8.5. So A's, Rays over 8.5. Reds, Red Sox. That's kind of ironic. I feel like I'm
Right.
freaking Dr. Seuss right now. Over 10 in that game. Give me your liquid locks for this fine Tuesday of 4th of July week, my friend.
All right, I'm going to go back to the mound, but in a different way. I'm taking Christopher Sanchez under 5.5 hits against the Padres. 10 of his last 13 starts, He's given up fewer than 5.5 hits. Plus, San Diego sucks against left-handed hitters. So Christopher Sanchez under 5.5 hits against San Diego. And then this guy right here, Byron Buxton. We're going Byron Buxton on the home run tonight, baby. Put him in the liquid lock container. It's as good as gold right there. So again, Sanchez
Great.
under 5.5 hits, and Byron Buxton going deep. He had a great June. He's got to start off July just as hot, baby.
Absolutely. Tomorrow's show, again, more on the NBA moves and rumors. Maybe the Golden State Warriors missed the memo and free agency for them starts today. So we'll see what happens there. Some other teams that really haven't done a damn thing yet. We'll go a little bit of MLB. We'll talk about some 4th of July baseball stuff. Also lead us into Mac and the Wiener King. We'll get to that later in the week. Mac's going to play Mac.
He's back, baby!
And an NHL roundup. We're going to go through, the latest on the free agent moves. A little bit of talk on the CBA, centralized or decentralized. And this show is always decentralized. So for the people behind the scenes, for TJ, who's on the tube, for Vegas Mac, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you tomorrow.